And
And
welcome.
we're live.
If you can't tell, we're live. We're stepping on each other's toes out of the gate. Welcome back to our second go round to the Reset Button Live right here on Hibiki TMD. Tannen, my manin, what is up, man?
Not too much, a hard Saturday's worth of work, dealing with this town's finest, and I'm drunk, so I'm going to go ahead and say that out loud.
I am
Drunk.
not. I am good to go. But Tannen, thankfully, our topic tonight, you don't need a format. You could talk about this in your sleep by far.
Well, we're coming back from May the Fourth be with you to the Revenge of the Fifth, and I don't know what the hell the sixth is.
Too many
But
puns.
yeah, you're the sixth. Sounds more like the fifth or the sixth. Revenge of the Sixth.
Well, I think
Yeah.
what's even bigger news than debating on that is we got a special guest, somebody I've known for a long time, somebody I've actually collabed with, made a joint review on for Sweet Home, the badass Famicom game that's so fucking good. But finally, on Hibiki TMD, welcome Sasha the Princess of Darkness. What is going on? Welcome to the Reset Button. Thank you for doing this spur of the moment.
Hey, thank you for having me. It was either watching Minecraft for hours on end or doing laundry, and this just sounded like a better option to me.
Amen. Amen. Well,
Especially
real,
Minecraft. Oh, man.
No, those
Yeah,
guys, if you're not familiar with Sasha's stuff, she does horror movie reviews, sometimes game reviews, all over the place with pop. Really, your bread and butter is pop culture. You're all about that B movie culty type life in general. For those of you that never checked out your channel, real quick, where can everyone check out your stuff?
Well, I'm pretty much everywhere now. I'm on most social media, but YouTube's the big place. Just search for Sasha, the Princess of Darkness. You'll find me. Right now, I will tell you that the website is kind of a Charlie Foxtrot. We'll keep it clean. But I'm trying to organize some of the videos. But yeah, there's a lot of reviews on there. There's a lot of vlogs. There's just a lot of commentary and me being a crazy bitch.
And speaking of being a crazy bitch, you were crazy enough to take my suggestion and check out Satan's Storybook, and we have a little couple things up our sleeves in the future, a couple collabs. So check those out on her channel. But as much as I know you love B-level trauma type horror movies, I know how much you also love Star Wars, and which is why we asked you to be here tonight. Guys, you guys are probably the two most avid Star Wars fans I know personally. I'm a huge fan myself, but I don't think anything on the level of where you guys go with it. I don't care who wants to go first, but I guess my question for you guys off the bat: first memory you ever have of Star Wars, what was it if you can remember that?
I'll go ahead and take it. My mom tried to get me to watch Star Wars when I was 4. And at the same time, on the other channel, we had HBO and Cinemax when I was a kid. And I had control of the remote, and I flipped over, and they happened to be playing at the same time Spaceballs.
Nice.
I was actually more of a Spaceballs fan as a small child than I was a Star Wars fan. I ended up loving Spaceballs so much that I asked for Spaceballs action figures at Christmas, which theirs did not exist. We're talking late 80s here, and
Yeah.
there was no Spaceballs action figures.
They're all over the place in the movie, though.
Huh?
They're all over the place in the Spaceballs movie. Like, they made the joke.
Yeah, the merchandising.
Yeah.
Get the merchandising. But it wasn't until I was about 9 years old that I got into Star Wars. But my first memory is of that. Like, my mom set me up to watch Star Wars on HBO. I happened to take the clicker and hit up on the next channel. I discovered Spaceballs and loved it more. Very weird, kind of thing. But hey, I liked slapstick comedy more when I was a kid. But I was my very first memory of Star Wars. My very first memory would have been, and it's funny we were bringing up books and things memories. We went there. I was 8 years old. We walked in, and my mom was just like, they had a deal where you could rent 3 movies for $5 at the time in a certain section. And my mom was just like, "Oh, look, here's the Star Wars trilogy. Like, we'll just rent all 3 of these movies, and you can sit back and watch them." I was 8, and I was kind of coming down off the Turtles thing, and still butthurt that there was Power Rangers had existed. So I was, as a kid, trying to find my new identity, basically, in a way, and I sat down and watched all 3 of those movies in the span of one night and absolutely loved them. And that is my first Star Wars memory, is my mom really like picking up those movies and being like, this time we're going to watch them. We're going to put them in. Get off your Spaceballs thing, basically.
That is.
Well, Tannen, I gotta say, I like the fact that you said clicker, because now I don't feel that old. So I was like, yes, he said clicker, because I remember when you'd hit a remote and it actually clicked. It wasn't like nowadays we just kind of touch it, or even have a touch screen. No, you actually physically went chunk to change the channel, and you were lucky if they had a volume thing too.
Hell yeah!
God, I'm showing my age.
Man, no. My fiance still to this day calls it a TV box, and it confused the shit. She's from Maine. And I guess that's what her family called it, was the TV box. That caused a lot of confusion when we first started living together, because she was like, "Where's this TV box?" And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about? It's up on the TV. Like, that's what beams the shit into the TV. Like, what do you mean, where's the TV box?"
Oh man, we also called it the clicker back in the day. So you're definitely not. You have to feel old. Sasha, what about you? What do you think's the first thing you remember as a small child of Star Wars?
Well, you got to remember, I was born around the time that it came out, and you got to understand, like in the late 70s or so, early 80s, like when a movie was in cinemas, it didn't just stay there for like a month or two. Like sometimes they would run a movie for years. Sometimes it would leave a cinema and then it would come back like 2-3 months later. You know, all that limited engagement crap that you'd see on TV back then, it was such bull, because, you know, the drive-in might get a Star Wars knockoff that's new, like Star Crash, for example, and do a double with Star Wars and then show Star Crash in the middle of the night. Or any of the other, like, Star Wars knockoffs that you can think of, like, what is it, Battle Beyond the Stars by Roger Corman?
God.
Yeah.
The spaceship with tits. That's the best
really
way I
love
can
your knowledge, by the way, Sasha. Holy shit.
But no, so it was late 70s. I remember catching it as a drive-in. I was just a little tot, and it kind of stuck with me. And being a military family, we moved around a lot. But this was back in the day where there was always drive-ins. So there was always drive-ins or a grindhouse I could sneak into or go see whatever the hell I wanted. I was a hoodlum fairly early in life. But the thing was, yeah, I remember seeing it at the drive-in. And when you see a film at the drive-in, it leaves an impression. You know, it's not like watching it at home. You know, even though our TVs are getting pretty big nowadays, seeing it in the drive-in, you know, almost tail into the 70s, early 80s, right before Empire comes out, it blows your mind. You know, and for me, that was one of the big, like, first memories that I had. One of the earliest ones that I can remember is the drive-in experience and seeing that movie, and it was an experience.
And that's exactly what made it stick with you, was the experience.
Extremely jealous
But
of
you got to figure,
Me too.
there was a lot of movies around that time that had similar ideas and concepts, but they weren't as executed as this was, even though in reality, let's be frank, as much as we all love Star Wars here, it is a B movie. It started life out as a B movie. 20th Century Fox is like, what's this kid's sci-fi movie? It ain't going to do anything for us. And years later, because of it, they did Alien, one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's poignant because it kind of brought that B-level cheese into the mainstream.
It made it acceptable in the mainstream, I guess.
I will argue, though, before that, they did have the success of Planet of the Apes. And that was an extremely successful franchise that 20th Century Fox had, like, in their bonds.
I mean, cheese like the Blob and stuff, too, I assume did really well ticket sales.
Yeah,
but that wasn't really a
didn't have
franchise.
action figures or anything like that. Like, Planet of the Apes generated action figures. Planet of the Apes generated merchandising. So then, like, Star Wars, like, you know, a couple of years, or what was it, like 10 years later, created this whole new line of merchandising for them. And 20th Century did play off of that.
But merchandising doesn't always work. I mean, look at all the merchandising from the Indiana Jones movies. I mean, Indiana Jones is still an excellent movie series, but how many people remember the toys from Kenner?
Exactly. Well,
Not a
speaking
lot.
of
No,
like
and you're
weird
right about
movies,
that. You are right about that. But
it's like the Willow movie. People, that is a cult classic. People love Willow. My parents literally wound. Do you remember like the little statue figurines, like for the Willow
Yeah,
figure?
but they just recycled a lot of the Ewoks toys from Return of the Jedi because that was Kenner's thing. They would flip stuff like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I thought it was funny the very first Star Wars line of toys. Like they sent out kids a letter like, "Well, we're still making them. Hold out hope." You remember that? Like that was the Christmas gift that year. It was like
Oh
a
yeah.
certificate you got to see.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Now that piece of paper is one of the most valuable things you can have because if you didn't
Exactly.
send that puppy in, you're good.
That piece of paper is worth more than some of the figures. Let's be real. Could you imagine how that would fly now in 2017 if like you got a piece of paper like today's patience of today's youth in this tablet instant YouTube world? Like, well, your figures are coming. First of all, I doubt. I mean, my kids play with physical figures still, and my kids have a lot of Star Wars figures and lightsabers, and they. But I think they're kind of getting the short end of the stick because they're surrounded by so much technology. They don't appreciate toy runs, toy
Well,
lines.
let's be frank, because we're all gamers here. What does the gaming industry like to do now?
It's very true.
Pre-buy. They don't even have a product out, and they already want you $10, $15 down.
yeah, they want you to fucking just go ahead and buy it now.
Exactly. And that's the thing.
Interest-free layaway.
But that's for something I think with a lot more meat to it. Like a game is like usually a narrative or like a multiplayer. You get a big experience. You feel like you get your money worth. For a figure, I don't think it would go well in today's day and age. I'm
know. Explain
surprised
that to
people didn't bitch and
Ubisoft.
complain back. Like I'm sure people complained back then, but
It also depends on the figure. Like if they made a fully automated action figure that could stand on its own, walk on its own, talk on its own, which that now in today's standards could be created. Let's not bust that idea out, guys. Like or kick that idea out. You know, action figures.
I ain't living in small soldiers world. No, I'm good.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that might happen.
I've seen enough Chucky. I watch Small Soldiers. I'm good.
I will say for me real quick while we're on like
cover bullshit might be happening.
while we're on like the initial memories of Star Wars, mine, I don't know if you guys remember it. It was for episode 4, A New Hope. It was at my grandmother's house. Like I was going through boxes. It was like this huge fucking comic book. It was huge. It was it was like the size of a newspaper. And
Travis,
that was
did you seriously call it episode 4?
a New
For
Hope.
shame. I'm a purist. It's Star Wars. It's always Star Wars.
I apologize. But I have to play the straight man, so I have to keep professional. I can't have any bias.
We have to appeal to fans here, Sasha.
Yeah, those.
Well, we're talking to the real fans here if we just call it Star Wars.
Well, you know what I mean. But anyway, do you remember those comics from the 70s when the movie it coincided with the movie? I don't know.
Oh yeah, the big fat Marvel ones.
Yes.
Yeah, the Marvel ones. That's what I was about to say. Holy shit! Like
my grandmother had that, and goddamn, talk about things from my youth I wish I still held on to. Like that's definitely.
Well, they actually produced a lot of those comics before the movie came out. In fact,
Right.
for Star Wars, when it came out, a lot of the original posters, a lot of the teaser material before they even started shooting came from the artists who worked on the Marvel comics.
She also had it was like a mini novel or something that you played with a vinyl. Like it was.
Mhm.
Do you know? Have you ever seen that?
Oh yes, they actually used to have those as promotions at like Hardee's and stuff, like when Gremlins
yeah, I was
came
about
out.
to say. I thought that was a Burger King thing, but
Hardee's and Burger King.
But I am with Tannen though. Besides that, and like I saw Empire first. That was the first Star Wars movie. That's so funny you brought up Spaceballs because I love fucking Spaceballs as a kid. Like it was a running joke with my parents. Like they'd always pick on me for loving that movie so much. And there was a time, I loved that movie more than Star Wars as a kid because like you, I love slapstick comedy. But obviously, the more we matured, I appreciated how well-rounded Star Wars, we can all agree has something for everyone. You know what I mean?
exactly. But Spaceballs was just hilarious. Like it was just such a fun thing to be involved. I'm not trying to like divert from Star Wars Day by like praising Spaceballs. But like cinematically, like as a 4-year-old, I fucking loved the fuck out of Spaceballs.
Well, what's
like,
today? The 7th now? The 6th or the 7th of
nothing
May?
disappointing there to be like, as a 4-year-old kid, like I want Spaceballs action figures. Like I went to Santa at the mall. I was like, I want Spaceballs action figures, and like the Santa was even like, oh, I don't know if I can make those, because my mom's standing right there. And Yeah, there was no me getting. I got Star Wars figures, and
Well,
I
don't
was
get too excited, but the guys responsible for Scary Movie and those other movies that are wretched are working on a space movie comedy. It's nowhere going to be anywhere near anything that Mel Brooks
no,
does.
I'm not excited for that at all. In
It's probably
fact,
just going
scary.
to irritate
If there's
Tannen. I was
scary
going to say.
movie fucks can fuck the right off. You
Yeah.
know, the only thing that they did right was not another teen movie. That was funny. I love
Yes.
that movie.
Molly Shannon saved. Not Molly Shannon. I'm sorry. The girl from The Breakfast Club. I said Molly Shannon. What the fuck? It is late. Anyway. Yeah, Star Wars. What can we say? Like I said, it has something for everybody. Now, the people that like, well, I don't like Star Wars. Like, they don't give it a chance. In my experience, when I've met people like that, I think the majority of the time they come away liking it. Maybe not loving it,
They're
but at least liking it.
fucking loving it. What the fuck are you talking about? Every
Not all
person
the time.
that I found out like, oh, I don't like Star Wars, blah blah. Once you like get them to sit down and they watch it, all of a sudden it's just like, oh man, then you suddenly have a fucking Star Wars fan on your hands. Like, how can
It's a
you
gateway
not-
drug.
Yeah, I would call it that for movies, for film, especially in sci-fi movies. How can you also like? Because usually when somebody says they don't like Star Wars, like you could retort and be like, "Hey, well, do you like Alien?" And they'll also come back with a no.
Right.
Don't show them Alien. You show them Star Wars.
Right.
Why
all of a
not?
sudden-
Like Star Wars.
I say show people Alien because I mean it's a twofold kind of movie.
Oh
If
man,
you take
Alien, fucking
all-
great movie. I thought, don't get me started. This is not about Alien, though, Sasha.
Well, I'm just saying
It's about Alien.
it's not a sci-fi movie. It's a slasher. It's horror. It's drama.
It's a fucking sci-fi horror movie. It's my two favorite things combined, molded into one, into this like, especially the original, this weird, just oh god, do not get me started on that. But we're talking about Star Wars here.
Well, yeah, Star Wars, and we could totally do an Alien episode in the future.
Oh, yeah,
totally
you
have
got-
I'm
that.
game. I'm setting through that whole entire franchise. I'm waiting with much
Covenant?
dread. Covenant.
We sent out the expert truck, like in Mr. Show, and we found a horror expert, and we brought her in. But we are here for Star Wars. I mean, where do you guys want to begin? Or we could do it in order. We could talk about how we prefer our Star Wars to be. However, I mean, it's really up to you guys.
I want the original unedited, but DHX digitally remastered version on VHS first, and then I just kind of throw out episode 1, but then I watch episode 2 and 3 just for kicks.
You keep 2, huh?
I keep 2 just because Yoda and Frank Oz.
Don't say the lightsaber. Don't say Yoda. That was fan service.
No, but I just keep it there
Alright,
because Frank
alright.
Oz is still there.
Let's start with that. Episode 2. That is a perfect thing for me to dabble on. Fan service done right. When they did it with Legolas on a shield in Lord of the Rings skateboarding down the steps, we talked about this on the show before. That was done right. I think with the Yoda, it was cool at first, but in a way, it kind of fucking irritated me because I don't know, like, yeah, I think that was fan service not done very right, in my opinion.
It was a fan service, but it was also it was the only good thing about that movie. I mean, I don't know the whole pervy thing with
I thought-
fucking
no,
Anakin shit.
I thought the
Anakin
visual-
creeped me out even when I saw it the first time.
I will
creeped me out.
admit the visual of like the Jedi and like the droids and shit on the battlefield charging at each other, that was awesome. That was awesome to look at. And one good thing we did get out was the tremendous Clone Wars series. I've always been a fan of the Clone Wars for the most part.
It's
Especially-
good. It's good.
Yeah.
Like, not the first 2 seasons, but
Well,
from
especially those
season 3
short ones we
beyond.
got by the Samurai
Holy shit.
Jack people. The very first
Yes,
ones.
Gendy Tartakovsky ones. Those are
Those
really
were fucking amazing.
those are fucking badass. But I really thought we were just waxing the CGI here. Those are fucking badass. But the CGI ones, it really skip over the first 2 seasons, just start at 3. You'll be fine. You're not gonna miss anything.
I will give the Clone Wars credit, like the TV show in and of itself, because a lot of it's in Rebels right now, and I'm really digging Rebels because it dips into the prequel mythos without tainting the original trilogy a whole lot, which is what I like, the Holy Trilogy. But to me, I mean, I kind of like that because it kind of merges those two worlds and it does it very nicely. It takes all the cool elements. It like cherry picks. Okay, well maybe this didn't suck so much in the prequels, and then brings it over. Like, what was his name? That terrorist that showed up
In
later
Rogue
on.
One.
What's
Yeah.
that?
In Rogue One.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in Rebels.
Forrest
He's
Whitaker's
also in.
character. Well, no, he's also in Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I tell anybody who's like, I've never seen Clone Wars before, I'm like, you
Forrest
need to go back
Whitaker's
and,
character.
Yes.
Yeah, he was in.
you
Yeah.
need, but
We
every
talked about
time I'm like, you need to go back and watch these 3 episodes. It's like from like season 5. And I was like, before watching that movie, and you will understand as to why he is the character he is in Rogue One. Because a lot of people were scratching their heads and like, who the fuck's this guy? Like, and why the fuck is he the way he is? But if you watch those 3 episodes, holy shit, it makes so much more fucking sense. It was
And
done.
that's why when I look at the prequels, it's like how I have that cherry picking philosophy that I was discussing with you earlier, Travis. Like, you know, you can see certain threads within the movies. I'm not saying the movies are not flawed because they are. But there's certain like plot elements and ideas and things where if somebody would have said, "Hey, Lucas, you're only getting less than $1 million to make these movies," he might have had to focus a little bit more on plot and maybe cut some of the excess out. But
Yeah.
there's definitely some good things in them. I mean, I could have done without the whole Boba Fett being a clone. I kind of like the character wrapped in mystery. Jango Fett just
Totally agree.
felt vestigial.
I totally agree with that statement.
You know, and then all of a sudden, you know, all the contradiction from like the previous movie as to who really trained Anakin. I'm like, at no point was it ever brought up that, you know, by Obi-Wan saying, yeah, I trained him after this other Jedi did it. You know, and it's kind of like, it makes no sense. You know, it just doesn't add up.
I don't think the prequel did the Jedi any favors because it painted the Jedi in a very snarky, condescending way. And I think the Jedi Order, the way it was portrayed in the Holy Trilogy, should have came off a little bit more understanding, maybe. Because let's be honest, Mace Windu can be a flat out fucking prick. As much as I love Mace, he really did. I mean, he was right. He was right all along. But there's just certain times, man. Like, goddamn, you kind of see where Anakin was coming from. Pushy.
Yeah, explains why he's Snoke now.
Yeah. Tana, did you think that they portrayed the Jedi in a bad way in the prequels? Or you think it was done right?
I think they were policing the galaxy. And here's the thing that I'm kind of liking about these new movies. The whole point of the prophecy was to bring balance to the Force. That doesn't mean that light outshines darkness, nor does that mean that darkness for lack of a better word, out darkness is dark's light. You know,
it's both. It means both of those things coming together
balance.
and coinciding.
It is a perfect balance of the Force, and I think that is where these new movies are coming from. Or this is my philosophy. These movies are actually going to be the balance of the Force.
I think Us 3 just summed up the origins of the Force better than they did in Episode 1 with Metachlorians, by far. I just got to say.
Yeah. The Metachlorians are kind of a mess. But no, I kind of agree with you, Tannen, on that. My philosophy is with basically the Jedi seeming kind of snarky and authoritarian. Think of it, with anybody once they're in power for such a long period of time, they kind of become the bad guys. It's kind of like that quote from Batman. You know, if you're the good guy long enough, eventually you're going to be the bad guy.
Right.
And that's how the Empire came to rise, because look at some of the crap that the Jedi were pulling. I mean, granted, a lot of people don't want to really admit it, but to some degree, the Jedi were very authoritarian.
Jedi were dicks.
Yeah,
they were dicks, and that is how war goes. You know, like, unless there is a balance, war will still continue. Thus is what we're seeing in this new trilogy. War never stopped. You got the New Order, like, who are the echoes of the the Empire, basically. And then you have the Resistance, which is the echoes of the Rebellion. But there is no really good or bad guy if you actually look at both sides. So
Maybe it's more or less like the purist coming out of me. Like I love the original so much, and back then it was just so cut and dry who was good and bad. You didn't like I think and that's I think it's a positive too, as far as like the Rogue One movie and how that you do see kind of behind enemy lines, so to speak. But back then it was so, and I don't want to say maybe hokey, but like, good feels sort of thing. Like, oh, the Jedi are these wonderful people, and it takes you back to a place where so much bullshit has
yeah, but it
happened.
was because darkness had taken over all of a sudden and really overshadowed this shit in this fast acting way that you then had to have Luke go ahead, and that's why the philosophy was that Luke brought balance after
Yeah.
um facing the Emperor and Darth Vader.
I think that's one thing I can say the prequels and a lot of these movies have done for me since the original is I long for the days where I just miss my Han Solo in an awesome fucking Millennium Falcon flight and just shooting puns and Luke is kissing his sister in simpler times.
Yeah, well,
I long for that in my
we
Star
did
Wars.
kind of get that out of Rogue One. I don't know
Yeah, in a way.
about you guys, but I fucking love Rogue One. Love that movie.
Yeah,
Fucking
it's great. It's one of the better movies that I've seen in a while, to be honest with you. And I like the fact that they didn't do a title crawl, which was nice.
oh yeah,
Um,
I just went right into it. Oh
I liked it. It was like, hey, this is of the universe, but it's its own thing. It's not putting a brand on a war. It's saying, hey, this is its own thing. Kind of like how if you were to watch, let's say, a Civil War movie or a World War II movie, nobody approaches that the same way. Not everybody goes, oh, this has got to be filmed like Patton or a Tarantino film because that's who originally originated this. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, no, we can do this different ways. And I think that's what's going to keep it fresh with
And, like,
fans in the future.
And those people that complained about that, about no title crawl and not feeling like Star Wars, it's not part of the fucking film franchise. It's a spin-off. So what are you bitching about? So I
and some people
totally
did
agree.
bitch about it. And that was my response was. I was like, no, that was done beautifully. Like
Yeah.
as soon as that went like that, I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Like it did not deter me at all. I fucking love that movie so much. I've gone back and watched it. I love the characters from it. Like I grew up raised on the story that Kyle Katarn was the one that stole the Death Star plans. And it was kind of a weak story, though, at the same time. I mean, but that's what I grew up with. This was so much more deeper and so much better that I really enjoyed it. I had low expectations going in there and was blown the fuck away. And then even when I watched it at home, I still extremely enjoy it.
Well, let's come back. Let's come back to the films because I do want to say another great thing about Star Wars. It brings us so much more than films. You can go toy lines, and you can also go another route that it's kind of our bread and butter, Tannen. Games, Star Wars fucking games, guys. My God, some of my favorite all-time games are Star Wars games. Let's be real, and I know yours are too, Tannen. Sasha, I don't know if you played a lot of like Battlefront 2 back in the day, stuff like that. Especially like the SNES Empire Strikes Back is up there in like my favorites too. Um, what can you say? Is for all the good, there's been a plenty of bad ones. I know
Well,
Tannen, you're a big PCs. Oh, sorry, Sasha, go ahead.
Well, you got to figure like I gamed as far back as even before the Atari, 2600. There was a lot of
Odyssey.
Star Wars games on the Atari 2600. There was the lightsaber one that took advantage of the paddle controller. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. The dial on it.
I got it.
Yeah, where you could like kind of like swing your lightsaber, and there is one of those training bots in between you and Darth Vader, and it's kind of like a really weird, like version of Breakout, kind of like Breakout but on two sides. So you're
It
both
might be
trying
the
to throw
best Star
lightning
Wars
at each
game
other.
for the Atari, honestly. And
Yeah.
That's sad. I'm just saying.
But then you had the AT-AT fight from Empire as a game, and I think there was a third one. I may be wrong, but there was definitely a third game in the
It was like
Atari.
a targeting game that was semi like I feel like it was like sort of based off like how their targeting went in the movie, but it was very horribly done.
I liked the arcade game from the 80s with the what is it, vector graphics. That was really cool, where you basically were in the TIE
Vectrix?
fighter, yeah, not TIE fighter, but the X-wing, and you were doing the trench run. I mean, that thing was awesome for the technology back then.
Oh, I'm thinking they made a Star Trek game for the Vectrix, not an actual Star Wars game.
Well, this was an arcade cabinet.
Yeah, I
This
know what
wasn't
you're
the
talking about. For
Vectrex.
some reason, I thought there was a Star Wars one for the Vectrix, and I mixed it up. But
Yes,
the
there's
Is
a
there?
port for the Vectrex. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
There's a port. I even played that one. Again, I'm showing my age a lot. I remember those games. I think the big turnaround was when we got Star Wars on the NES. That was, I want to say, what was that? THX? No, not THX. What was that tape company that made tapes back in the day? What's that? Yeah, JVC.
JVC.
Yeah, JVC. They made the trilogy of Star Wars. Well, technically just the first two, because then they flipped it and then did the Super NES, because he did the Star Wars game, which was weird on the NES, like right toward the tail end of the NES getting ready to come out of fashion, and right at the verge of the SNES coming out, and they're like, well, screw this, we'll just redo the trilogy on the SNES.
Yeah, Darth Vader turning into a scorpion, and then you had the Famicom Star Wars game too, which we never got.
Well, the Famicom one was where he turns into a scorpion.
Yeah,
the JVC one didn't have that.
Yeah, the JVC one actually kind of pretty much stuck to it. I beat that once as a kid. It was really good, actually. The only thing that really pissed me off was the first level of Hoth on Empire Strikes Back. Damn, that was so hard to wrap those fucking AT-ATs in that one. On a 2D platform. It was, oh God, even looking back on it, like.
But do you remember when like all of our minds were completely blown, at least for a home console, when we got Shadows of the Empire and you got to kind of do it legit on Hoth for the first time? Like I know you got that on PC before, but for those of us that weren't like PC elitist kids, like that, we didn't have that. So when we got that, it was amazing.
I try to bring
a lot of us had Dark Forces on the PlayStation, so you got to remember that too. I think Dark Forces predates Shadows of the Empire a little bit.
It does.
Like a
Dark
year
Forces
or so,
did allow you to do that, but like the thing was, like I had a PC and I did have Dark Forces as well. Also no, actually to predate both of those, Rebel Assault 2 was the first, or not Rebel Assault 2. Rebel Assault, the first one, was actually where you went on this like weird Hoth level. Right. Rebel Assault took a whole different toll. It was like taking place in a different Star Wars universe. And you ran around, and instead of harpooning them, though, because it was FMV, you were on a rail shooter. So you had to actually like shoot the AT-ATs in a certain order, but you did not get to actually harpoon them.
Well, let me rephrase it then. For my experience as a kid, then my first time was on Shadows of the Empire because I didn't have those games on PlayStation.
Do you know I paid $80 for that game when I was a kid?
Fuck.
Yep, I took every last penny that I had and bought that fucking game.
Real quick, this might put you guys on the spot. Do you have a personal all-time favorite Star Wars game?
Shannon, do you want to go first?
I was going to say, Sasha, you go first. I'm drinking my beer.
All right. Yeah, I'm just sitting here looking over at the Coke, debating if I want to get up and grab one. But no, when it comes to like my all-time favorite Star Wars games that I've played on repeat, it's kind of a toss-up because I've gotten back into playing a lot of GameCube because I can get my hands on a lot of GameCube stuff cheap. I want to say it was, what, the third or fourth game that was on the GameCube from the Dark Forces. I want to say it was like Jedi something or other, Jedi Academy,
Jedi Academy. That was a good one.
Yep, so that one's a fun one, and I also like to play, granted, I'm not a big fan of the prequels, but I did enjoy Bounty Hunter, because at least I could shut it down in my head and go, I'm playing as somewhat Boba Fett.
Yeah, I keep meaning to grab that on the PS Store, by the way. It's like $8, I think. Something like that.
I don't know why you have it, because that is a really good game. I'm going to go with different titles from what Sasha chose, because, holy shit, you picked some really good titles there, actually.
And I will say I also enjoyed Force Unleashed, like the original, not the sequel, because it was buggier than hell.
It was rushed.
That was my
and the fact that it ended, whereas the Force Unleashed Part 2 kind of had like a cliffhanger ending. It's like, what the hell happened? And now it's now considered what? I guess
they had Vader like captured in that big magnet and shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that supposed to serve anyway? Like, we're going to throw you in a big magnet.
The developers on the second one, though, they got treated like shit, and that game was just pushed out the door. And, like, I don't know. I didn't think it was as bad as, like, I knew it was, like, I agree it was buggy, but, like, people saying it was broken, I didn't think it was bad for a rushed game. Like, I thought, it was, like, a decent showing for, like, people being down your necks like that so much,
It wasn't bad, but like Jesus Christ, like they were starting to do something epic. They were starting to do something that was considered canon. They were starting to do something that was definitely catering to fans. And you know what? They fucked it.
They did.
Like, that's what they did with it, because the first one was awesome. Star Wars Force Unleashed was actually on my list of top Star Wars games. Oh my god, getting to pull down from the sky a fucking oh god, just Star Destroyer, and just getting to pull that bitch down. Jesus Christ, that was a good fun. Sorry, I keep burping, but God, that was a good game.
Hashtag.
Yeah. My second choice would actually be Battlefront 2, the original one. Fucking loved the shit out of that game. Loved it. I was even in a position like I could never always play it online because I didn't have access to that kind of broadband. But boy, was it awesome to play at a friend's house. But even to just play alone and play against the computer, um, and sometimes I'll still play that game. I have it on PS2. It still holds up. It's still a lot of fun. So
I'm
Star Wars Battlefront 2.
I am completely floored that. Well, go ahead, Tana. Get your third in before I say this because I want to make sure you're not going to say what I think.
This one's going to make you guys laugh your shit. Well, first off, a runner-up would be Shadows of the Empire. I loved Shadows of the Empire very much.
Does it hold up though? Because I've gone back and I got to be honest, man, it's hard.
Well, we got to do that as a separate topic here in a little bit. I'm
Right.
serious. We got to talk Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah, well,
because we were talking about Rogue One being a side story.
Yeah.
We need to touch on that. We need to come back around to that at some point.
Shadows of the Empire was very important to me growing up as a kid, and I have all the comics. I still have them. Somehow, they survived.
We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Tana, get your last game in real quick. Sorry.
Well, Shadows of the Empire is just a runner-up because I have the book. I went through everything with Shadows of the Empire. I fucking love that. So the game definitely played an involvement with me completing my story on getting the whole story for Shadows.
Nice.
But my number one, and you guys are going to laugh your shit off on this one, but boy, do I have great memories with it. And I love also Super Empire Strikes Back and all that. Star Wars Rebel Assault 2.
Ooh.
So many people hate these FMV fucking games that came out during the 90s, and oh my god, though, this one was mind-blowing for me as a kid. You actually got into the cheesy seat of Rookie One, who can't even act, but man, when you were a kid and you played as this shit, it was fucking awesome. When I got in Star Wars Rebel Assault 2 for my birthday, I had never played the first one. I had no idea what I was getting into. It did come up with the idea of Phantom Ties, which are TIE fighters that have cloaking devices. And, oh man, Admiral Akbar is in the fucking game. James Earl Jones is in the fucking game. It was goddamn amazing. And to this day, play it on PC. Don't play it on PS. Do not play it on PlayStation because it sucks. Or 3DO or anything else.
Yeah, that's the route I unfortunately went. I played it on PS. Yes,
you play it on PC. But you know what? I fucking love that Star Wars game. It's a sentimental piece for me.
What I was going to say, now that everyone said their piece, I'm absolutely floored that no one said my all-time favorite, because one thing I always fucking wanted was like a Star Wars in-depth fucking RPG. And it was Knights of the Old Republic, the first one. I like the second one, but it's not as much as the first. I love that fucking game so much. So fucking much.
Good games, but yeah.
A lot of people are iffy on the combat. The real time isn't for everyone, and I get that. I know... I just love that game. And also, I said it earlier, SNES Empire Strikes Back. You've been hearing the OST playing in the background now for like 10 minutes, by the way. So shout out to that game. Like you guys, I love Battlefront 2. I think it's one of the most complete Star Wars games you could ever ask for. Like, you truly feel like you get your money's worth. Even if you spent like $10 dirt cheap back when it was cheaper, you felt like you got every dime worth in that game because it just brought you so many options. And it was so much playtime out of that game for me. I don't know
what was that off-the-wall game that was on Xbox where you commanded a bunch of clone troopers?
It was a first-person. Damn you! God damn it, Sasha! That was my last one. It was Battlefront Commando or something like that.
What like
It was really good. It's really underrated, and a lot of people forget about that game.
Commando something or other, yeah. But it was so good because you played like as the first person like shooter, but basically you had people that you could command.
And
I mean,
that's another
granted,
game, like you said earlier, like we don't really like the prequels that much, but that's like a positive that came out of the prequels. Like I liked that game. Like I like the story in it. I guess if you can get around the Boba Fett shit and all that, like you were saying. But yeah, those are mine. Like, and I loved all the games you guys said. For the ones I've played, some of them I never touched, but I gotta remedy that someday, obviously. I did really like a really. You might laugh at this one. Jedi Power Battles for the Dreamcast. I played a lot, and that game was actually really fun for some reason. I was
there
Mace
was
Windu
something
all day.
funny in that game. Oh
And
yeah, horror.
And another one I can't believe that nobody said was the Pod Racer game, especially in
Was
the
that the fighting
arcade.
game? The Power Battles though? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
The Power Battles game.
No, that was Masters of Terrakasi. That was the one that had the
Oh,
Sandburst. His name was Horror.
The
Yeah,
one
that was
was
the
like
really rare
that was
one.
like Tekken, but it was fucking Star Wars characters.
Isn't that
Dude,
game
we'd
like
load it
super
up
rare?
all the time. We'd have our friends have to play horror and pick on them all night. You're a whore.
Okay, no, or you know, like everybody can just pick Luke, and then you had to have lightsaber and lightsaber battle there, because that was the best character.
But I really love the Pod Racer game too, and I'm surprised no one said that, especially in the arcade where it was like a legit
Now,
like the ship controls.
shout out to the Pod Racer game. Do not get me wrong, okay? That was a good game, especially Racer Revenge. Actually, that was even better. But
Sold a lot of N64s.
it did.
Yeah.
I still have the box and well, I have a version where it's actually, I think one of them sealed.
Sealed?
Yeah, that's in the hidden away. The
We
box
talked.
I've opened that up like once every 3 years, and then like have a nerdgasm, and then put it all back.
We talked about the doll babies in the Star Wars game world. What about some of the uglier games that we saw that were shitty as hell in the Star Wars mythos?
Now, I tell you what, I'm gonna take a break, if you guys don't mind.
All right. Tannen has to poop, and
Thank you for acknowledging that.
I guess if
Try to be nice about it. I gotta
I was
take
gonna say
a
bust the seal,
big
but
steamy shit. But after, I'm gonna meditate on what my least favorite Star Wars games are. And we're gonna come back with that.
all right. Well, I will, if you want, if it's okay with Travis, we can discuss.
You go ahead. Yeah,
Shadow.
you guys go
well,
ahead.
we'll keep the train rolling, Tannen. You go ahead and you take care of business, man.
But
We
no,
are
the reason
live.
why-
We pull the curtain back on the reset button. No fucks given. Sasha, what do you think? Some of the stinkers, no pun intended, Tannen, in the Star Wars game franchise.
Well, when it comes to the stinkers, like some of the things I didn't like, for example, was on the SNES. Don't get me wrong, Super Star Wars was amazing, okay? But like in Super Return of the Jedi, when you had the inside of the Death Star and you're trying to go through that, I could never do that without cheating my ass off.
They were really hard. Those games
That
were
was
notoriously hard, just like the
awesome.
Indiana Jones game.
The Indiana Jones game wasn't too bad, but at least with the Indiana Jones game, you got 3 games in one. You know what I mean?
True. I think, and out of the SNES Star Wars ones, I think Jedi was my least favorite, personally. Yeah, something about, I just love that spin saber attack in Empire. It was so addicting to do as a child, I guess.
Yeah, it was fun just to play as Leia. That was just really freaking cool.
Dressed as the bounty hunter at the beginning of Jedi.
You could also play as Slave Leia as well.
Yeah, that was funny back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, that was great because how many female characters do you get to see? I mean, nowadays you're bereft with them. But back then, it wasn't a big thing in gaming.
There's a like an original trilogy game. Speaking of stinkers, for the GBA, and I don't know if you remember this one. Like all the characters were faceless. It was just terribly. The combat was boring, and it was so uninspired, and it was really bad. That's one of the ones I think of off the top of my head. Obviously, when it made like gaming made the transition to like the N64 PlayStation era, some Star Wars games didn't really hold up as well at the time. A lot of people were testing stuff. Obviously, the Atari Star Wars games weren't too great for what they were, and I think Atari is one of the most overly cummed on game systems of all time. I mean, yeah, I get it. You got to respect what the Atari did. That's a whole other podcast. I'm just saying, but personally, I don't know.
But with the Atari, you got to figure Atari kind of like built the game industry. Granted, it crashed the game industry too, but it built the game industry. And you got to figure a lot of people were just accustomed to playing on the 2600. I mean, that was something that you could just pick up any old wear back in the day.
That's what I was gonna say. People like talk about shovelware now. It was like fucking bulldozer wear. Like they were just shoveling fucking.
Hell, you
trash
could
back
go get
then.
your ColecoVision and put the adapter on it and go to town and play both your Coleco games and your Atari games.
Well, speaking of bad Star Wars stuff, and besides games, really, the Christmas special, the notoriously bad movie. It's TV.
Why are you giving it a given on that one?
I don't know. I kind of dig the B. Arthur song.
No, and also there is this dance sequence when Chewbacca's son is watching the holograms. That was really cool. It was like a Cirque du Soleil thing.
Oh my God, you
Well,
like that?
Let's not spoil it. What is it about this, guys, that made it so bad besides everything about it?
What you gonna get Cirque du Soleil, Sasha?
The worst thing ever is old man Wookiee porn.
Oh yeah, no, that was the highlight of that special.
I'm just sitting there as a child. Well, not as a child, as a teenager, because I got it on VHS. But I'm sitting there just like, am I watching what I'm watching? And then the fact of, granted, I usually complain about subtitles in movies because I prefer dubbing, but of course that's not going to work with a Wookiee. But let's be honest, the first 15 to 20 minutes of that movie, of that show, we definitely needed something, because what the hell are they talking about? Yes, you could get the general feel, but it was like, dude, really? Is this all this is going to be? Is Wookiee grunts and growls the whole way through? I mean, at least with the Ewok TV movies, we got some sort of subtitles and some sort of understanding as to what's going on. But with this, we got jack shit.
A lot of things can haunt a child's nightmares.
You know
like
what?
Chucky, but nothing like a Wookiee's face from this
Sip,
station.
or wait, stir, sip. I don't remember what the pattern was. I watch it every year at Christmas.
Happy Life Day, guys, by the way. They went with Life Day. That was also something that they get made fun of a lot. Just so
And
much,
Carrie Fisher's
so many,
song.
the cameos. My God, the fucking cameos. Let's talk about some of our favorites in this, guys.
Well, I gotta say that the cameos is what got me in trouble for doing the review, not this past year, but the year before last, because I did a review on the holiday special. It was the freaking Jefferson Starship cameo that got me nailed on a copyright strike. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Of all the people that cameoed on that, it was fucking Jefferson Starship. What the fuck?
I'm still disputing it. It was 2 years ago.
Oh,
Wow.
shit. Oh, B. Arthur's spinning in her grave right now. My God.
Because B. Arthur was the best guest.
Yes.
Like, dude, that bar song was fucking awesome. That was
And the mouse head. I love the mouse head. So appropriate with them being owned by Disney now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy that ran the shop, he did some other shit with like Jim Henson and stuff though too.
Did you know it was originally supposed to be who they were going to cast for Lando, but then they went with a whole different route in Empire?
Now that I didn't, holy shit! You just wow. I don't know, man. I think I'm about to have a heart attack from that fact. Are you fucking serious?
Yes, look it up. Originally, they were going to try to get a younger actor to play the shopkeep to kind of show up in Empire to kind of bridge everything as the new Lando. Even though Lucas wasn't 100% involved, I think he just likes to deny involvement. But now he did the prequel, so he can't. He also did Howard the Duck. He really can't. But the thing of it is that, yes, they were originally going to cast somebody to be on the level with, like, Han Solo to kind of introduce him to people early on. Go, okay, this guy
would have been no if Lando would have ran that store.
My God.
Oh my God.
Shit.
That would have made the Christmas special so much fucking different.
And you got to figure, they didn't know it was going to be Billy D. Williams until well after the fact.
Hey guys, I'm actually gonna mute my mic for a second. I got my lady pulling in. She doesn't know what's going on.
That's
So
all good. You let that simmer in your head from what Sasha just.
Back with my worst Star Wars games. I did meditate on that bullshit. I'll be right back.
All right, we'll be here. Talk about poor Lando. Billy D. Williams rumored to want to come back for the newer movies. Rumored to being shut down. Like they don't want him to come back. Is that what I've taken from it?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything to that effect. When it comes to like stuff that's
Speculation.
I try to avoid it because I'm going to be frank. How often have we heard that the unadulterated Star Wars movies are going to be released on Blu-ray? You know,
Yeah.
it's we hear it every year. You're getting them, and you never get them. I heard so many rumors as to what The Force Awakens was going to be, and it wound up being something completely different.
Me too.
Like, and I was the same way with, the upcoming of The Last Jedi. I mean, I keep hearing all kinds of stuff. Oh, this person's Snoke. Oh, this person's Snoke. Oh, this person's Snoke. Oh, Rey isn't, Luke's daughter. Rey is, the new embodiment of the Force. I actually kind of like that rumor. I kind of hope it's true. But I don't know. I mean, I've just completely been away from the internet. When I see something pop up that says latest Star Wars rumor, I click away because I want to go into the cinema, no expectation, and enjoy what I see.
I do the same. I'm at a point where even with Ghostbusters, as much as people were like, don't go see it, I still saw it because I have to. It's like with a game, I got to get hands on with it. You know what I mean? Like, people shit on the latest Mass Effect, but like I was telling someone in the chat today, like, I know diehard fans of the Mass Effect series who love Andromeda, so not everyone hates something. You know what I mean? So, the fuck? Yeah, okay, that's something because that's more modern and current. The episode 8 trailer that everyone's seen. And your 2 cents on it real quick. Like, in your opinion, not to wax intellectual on it for too long, where do you think this is going?
Well, I think it's one of these things where, like I've discussed earlier about
And I'm throwing your
how...
logo up right now. I'm just getting around to it, so I do have you up on the... Sorry, I
No
didn't mean
worries.
to cut you off.
But no, I was thinking, like, from what I had seen, we're going to focus on, of course, what's his name? The kid from Attack the Block. That's one of the main characters. I think he's going to be healing because they got him in that little health tank. So they're going to be discussing trying to get him somewhere safe. There's probably going to be some sort of battle and turmoil going on. Rey is going to be going through her training. Luke seems to have doubts about bringing the Jedi back because maybe he's done research and has gone, man, the Jedi kind of were dicks when you look at prequel era Jedi. Maybe we don't need to bring them back. Maybe it's wise that I remain the last full-fledged Jedi so I can teach this person and maybe I can teach them better ways. And I think it's going to be kind of like a unification between the light and the dark to go up against Snoke. Because who the hell is Snoke? And granted, if you've read a lot of the legacy stories, and I hate to say it, a lot of the legacy stuff, they're really cribbing from when it comes to Rebels and other new stuff. I think they're going to tap on to the Gray Jedi, or the really, really, really dark Jedi that even the Sith were against, and kind of have a unification between, Rey and Ben, kind of going up against Snoke as a unified joint, where the light and the dark are working together to defeat a mutual evil. As if, how can I put it best, that by Ben killing his father, he had to do that in order to completely pass the dark side to get more training that he couldn't get from Luke. He had to go completely evil to be balanced.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's where it's going. And I think that's why Luke's kind of shunning the Jedi way, because he's like, well, maybe they were wrong.
I think that's too. I think it's Luke also like having a breakout moment also, and he's like, I've been wasting my time practicing bullshit sort of thing. And I agree. I think that's what they're going to do too. So we're on the same page.
And I think a lot of people, when they saw basically The Force Awakens, they're like, man, this is just a retread of Star Wars. I know for you people out there who tackle in the prequels, Episode 4, A New Hope, I just say Star Wars. But people thought that Force Awakens was a retread of Star Wars. And to me, it's like, well, it kind of had to be. It kind of had to show audiences like, hey, we get that the prequels were a big departure from form and structure. We want to show you that, yes, we can make a good Star Wars movie, that we know what Star Wars is all about, but they're also not going to try to emulate Empire for this follow-up. They're going to have darkness kind of prevail, but in a very different way. I mean, that's why the title crawl is red. You've only ever seen a red title crawl in 2 episodes, which was, Return of the Jedi. And then, of course, with, what was it called? The third one, Revenge of the Sith. You've only ever seen that in those type of 2 movies. So it would make sense with kind of like a Darkness Rising, but not. Kind of like Darkness Rising in a positive aspect. Again, that's my theory, because initially they wanted to show, hey, Force Awakens is our way of saying we know what Star Wars is. let us show you how much better we can make it. I think that's what they're going to do.
And plus, it seems like it's going to go the Empire route because it's the second film in this quote unquote trilogy where it's the dark kind of has to prevail, you would say, because it has that notorious legacy of doing that with the second film. You know what I mean?
But I don't think it's going to prevail in a negative way.
No,
I think it's going to prevail in a way where it unifies with the light, because that's what it needs to.
Exactly. Like Luke had to train his ass off in Empire 2 and learn a lot of life lessons, a coming of age type thing. I hope they don't cookie cutter it like right along the same lines as Luke had to train. I hope they don't take the easy route, and I hope you're right. I hope they make it like where there's a lot of questioning comes into play with between Rey and Luke. You know what I mean? Like personal stuff with the Jedi, and I think that's how we'll play it.
I think there should be some sort of big jaw-dropping reveal, not so much to the same vein of basically, Luke, I am your father. It should be kind of a jaw-opening review where, how can I put it best, where it's something different, but just as much as a gut punch. You know what I mean? Where it's like, wow, or maybe you find out the Jedi were evil all along, and this is why Luke is kind of shunning it.
And I'm an idiot, and we have to get used to this live stuff. I do have to shout out to the chat. Got a couple buddies in there. Got Jim from Drink a Beer, Play a Game, and Michael from Slam Big's podcast popping in saying he always does that, and then he leaves immediately. But yeah, I got to get used to this chat stuff, man. Pretty much.
Well, when I do like the PlayStation Network like live, I've got to get used to it too, because
do you put it on the screen?
Yeah, I've got to do two screens. I've got to run over, and granted, I've got always people complimenting my ass and my legs every time I do it, but it's like, motherfuckers, I'm coming over here to ban your asses 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Seeing me come over this way is usually not a good sign.
I definitely don't have to worry about showing any leg here on Hibiki TMD. Real quick, we've gone over an hour mark. Real quick for anyone joining, where can everyone check you out again, Sasha?
That is, of course, here on YouTube. You can go to just do a search for Sasha the Princess of Darkness, and you can find me on most, if not every, social media, which is Sasha the Princess of Darkness. I do primarily sci-fi, action, horror, action, and all kinds of stuff. I kind of run the gamut. I do toys, music, video games. Most of my shitama reviews is just reviews of bad movies. 9 times out of 10, they don't usually wind up being bad. I judge a movie by how much I have to drink by it. The more I drink, the worse it is.
It's pretty much like us here at Hibiki TMD, guys, except she hates fucking wrestling. And you'll never see pro wrestling coverage on her channel like you do here. So.
Well, I wrestled in high school, so, I mean, you never know.
Well, yeah, there you have it. Real quick, let's talk about some episode 3 real quick.
I'm back!
He's back! Is everything good? You're perfect timing. Sasha got her plugs in. Everything was flowing well. Good timing, Tannen. Can't teach that.
No. Like I heard most of that. Fucking awesome, by the way. Loved it. What was the other question? I don't know. I just ate a bunch of Mexican food and like downed a beer. It was great.
I don't think it was a question. I think I was segueing to something. You just went, I'm back. So Here we are. Sasha got her plugs in because we were just going over the hour mark, Tannen. I was going to bring up how episode 3, a lot of people think that if the first 2 films would have gone more of the darker route in a way, then it should have just, I don't know. I'd still say Anakin ruins the prequels a lot for me, personally. But out of the prequels, I think episode 3 is definitely the best.
And by the way, I don't mean to retract back to, because it was Tannen, what's your worst Star Wars game? Worst Star Wars game I ever played was episode 1 on PS1. It was the introduction of being able to use a lightsaber in a 3-dimensional world, and it was terrible. Fucking worst goddamn Star Wars game I've ever fucking played. Kind of want to do a let's play on it so that my frustration actually rings out, especially when you have to like jump platforms and be Qui-Gon.
Oh my God, Tannen, thank you for talking about lightsabers in a 3-dimensional world, because you just suddenly reminded me of what my worst Star Wars game ever was. Because we kind of walked away from that. Oh my God, it just popped into my head when you said that, just like bing. I was over at a friend's house. He had an Xbox 360. And he had that stupid Kinect stuff, and he wanted to play the new Star Wars game that was on Kinect. And
I hate
All I
that
have to-
fucking game. I know what you're
All I
talking
have to
about.
say is the whole Jedi training thing with the lightsaber and it not recognizing your commands, and that was wretched. And then, of course, all I gotta say is I'm Han Solo.
Here's a
And
first. Shout out to my mom who has that game, and that's like the one game I've played with her besides Guitar Hero. Was that shitty Star Wars game that's unresponsive and fuck that game. My God.
I mean, Force Unleashed on the Wii is better than that.
It is. You're right. I can't argue that point at all because at least that game was responsive somewhat.
Exactly.
That game was okay, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad Wii game actually. Looking back,
It wasn't bad on the PSP either.
why do I want to play that all of a sudden just to play it on the Wii? I'm actually a masochist. What's wrong with you? You're converting me into these weird
On the
game
PSP
fetishes.
was good for what it was. I mean, I wasn't expecting, you know.
You know, I totally forgot about that fighting game you brought up. By the way, I got to go back
Masters
and
of
look more.
Terracasi.
Yes, I totally
That game-
forgot about that shit.
I fucking know. I will still play that game just to play it. It makes for a good get drunk, play a fighting game.
Remember the what was it, Soul Calibers with Star Wars characters in it? That was crazy.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it was.
For 4, right?
You had
Yoda.
what was it?
Yoda on the 360 and Darth Vader on the PS3, and then eventually they became downloadable characters, and then you had the Apprentice as well.
The Apprentice was legit. I remember that for Soul Calibur. He was kind
I
of
was
OP.
sitting there watching Vader wail on these people with sticks and regular swords, and I'm like, I don't buy it.
Yeah,
And the Apprentice was cheating, dude. And if you picked the Apprentice,
it was OP.
wanted to
For
fight
real.
against anybody else, it had to be Apprentice versus Apprentice because it wouldn't work.
Well, let's talk about something we all love. The original fucking trilogy, guys. The original, the OG Star Wars. The Star Wars that matters in our opinion. Personally, off the bat, my all-time favorite Star Wars character is Han Solo. I'm a Han guy. I don't know who you guys prefer from the original trilogy.
I'm definitely a Han guy. I don't think Lando gets enough credit. I definitely noticed you guys.
He's my number 2.
Huh?
He is my
Hold on
number
a
2
second.
right there at the top tier.
Well, you like scoundrels.
I do. I like him dirty.
Who's your number 3 then, Travis?
Not to be outdone by Boba Fett at number 3, so I do like my scoundrels.
Yeah, I
Sure.
knew that was going to be it because there's nothing but scoundrels on your list.
Do we have the same list? Do we have the same order and everything?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Tannen, what do you think about it? The original separates it from the remakes, like not the remakes, but the prequels. What to this day? What do you think still draws you in more?
The original trilogy has a lot more heart to it. There's a lot more soul in the original trilogy versus the prequels. That's really what it comes down to. Now, like, see, the thing with the prequels is, like, now I got to see them as they were released in progression. Episode 3, like, I can still watch that and like it. But the other two, I can turn a blind eye to them real easy. I don't know if you know, but originally the concept was that, and this is why Luke was too old. He's too old for the training. Originally, Obi-Wan met Anakin when he was about 19 or 20 years old, and he was a pilot in the Clone Wars. And then instead they took that idea and scrapped it and created this whole new thing where he was a child born out of God, basically.
A page from the Force Bible.
Yep, exactly. I really think that is where they went wrong. I think the original concept of him just being a normal person but very talented and then taken on by the Jedi Council made a lot more sense as to why he was so easily taken over by the dark side instead of this Jesus Christ-like child being born and then, taking over the dark side, but also like everybody describes him as this good guy. But I'm sorry, but episode 2 is nothing but rapey eyes all over the place, rapey eyes. I did not feel that Anakin was ever a good person.
The sand is coarse and rough.
The only time that I feel like Anakin is an okay person is in the animated series.
That's the only time he's not insufferable. Is in a video game form usually, when there's no Hayden Christensen voice at all, or impersonators, or in the animated. You're right.
Well, to me, like it just brings up the whole. It just feels like the last temptation of Anakin Skywalker, like the last temptation of Christ, and it's like, except it kind of makes you want to go the other way with the last temptation of Christ. Like Christ being like, "Oh yeah, give me that axe, let me go wail on some people."
Instead of flipping tables, though, he just cut heads off little young Padawan.
No, I killed at Yinglings. It's a comedy club.
Yeah, he just slaughtered them instead of flipping a table and spilling wine. Pissing people off.
I said drink some Yinglings, not kill younglings.
Sorry, master. Yeah, it would be bad. Jesus Christ. I feel like I don't want to focus on the prequels. I feel like we need to make it feel good. Because I feel like the prequels get me fired up, and they make me focus on the things I don't like about Star Wars.
Well, that's what tripped me out the other day, because my friend, he's another local podcaster and YouTuber out of Clear Spring. He did a Star Wars tribute the other day.
Shout out Steve Shives. You shout him out. I already
Steve Shives?
Yeah.
But he actually did this really cool, and I just love the quote in it, because he's all like, "Hey, we don't talk about the prequels here." And I'm just like, that's freaking awesome.
You're just like, I'm home.
Yep, this is where I belong. Chewie, I'm home, And to me, I'm like, that was just so poignant, because to me, it's like, yes, this is how it should be. The prequels exist, don't get me wrong. There's still some debate about the canonicity, but let's be honest, even with the latest sequel that's getting ready to come out, there's going to be some retconning in that as well, and it's already been addressed, like the scar moving on Kylo/Ben's face. So they're already starting to retcon things.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think's your all-time favorite scene in the original trilogy? I know that's a bold question.
Han being a pimp. Leia's all like, "I love you," and he just says, "I know."
Oh.
That's a good one.
There's that, and yeah, both of them are gonna come from Empire for me, because that is definitely one of them. I do really like her retort then in Return of the Jedi, where she redoes that. But another one of them is another one of my favorite scenes, and it will always be, because I was so shocked as a child when you find out that Darth Vader is Luke's dad. I mean, that fucking crushed me as a kid. Like, I was like, because I didn't know. And I'll just never forget that foreboding feeling of, are you serious? And then, like, as he's even like, no, just join me. Like, we'll do this together. It was like, holy shit, this shit is real. Like, yeah.
Well, that's why they consulted a child psychologist for Return of the Jedi to kind of discuss that, how to drive that home to kids who just still wouldn't accept it. And that's why they went with Yoda confirming it. And I thought that was a very interesting fact about the film.
Well, I'm going with my second favorite one, though, is when in Jedi, as he's trying to get him to come over, he brings up sister. He's like, sister. So you have a twin sister. And I mean, dude, that also blew me away as a kid, because that does definitely confirm it. Because, dude, like for kids that are in denial, like, come on.
That and the whole line of "I still feel good in him," it always gave me a little teenage giggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no. But other favorite scenes though that I've always like. What about off scenes that aren't serious? One of my favorite scenes is the cantina scene, and the original one. You walk in there, and there's just this whole like socialization of different species from different spaceports interacting. There's music. I always have loved the cantina scene very much.
I think the part for me that the scene for me I gotta say stands out there, because as a kid it literally it took like a shot to my heart. You know that when you were a kid, like something just, it was when Luke got his hand cut off. That was so shocking to me that would be in a Star. Like I didn't see, like I saw the father thing coming because it was kind of spoiled even back then, like you knew, but I didn't see the hand part coming for the first time. So that got me, and that sticks out. Really, the never tell me the odds line, I love it. Like as an adult, more, I just love that whole dynamic. And with
Oh,
any,
this is Sasha
anytime Han,
beating asteroid fielder 725 million to one.
never tell me the odds. Yeah, anytime Han is flying something, it's gold. Anytime he's behind the seat, it's always gold for me. There's always a great dynamic with Han and so many people. I think Harrison Ford, in my opinion, doesn't get enough credit for making the trilogy. It really, because you take Harrison Ford out of the equation, my God, there's such a coolness factor missing from it.
Oh,
Everything becomes so rigid.
the scene from Return of the Jedi after he gets thawed out and he meets back up with Luke and they have that whole banter between each other. That was gold.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
so how are we doing? Oh, about the same as always. That bad, huh?
yeah. It was there, and I think if that would have been anybody else, I don't think these would. I don't know how they would have played out really without Harrison Ford's charisma. My opinion.
No, you're completely right about that.
We got to
Yeah,
figure too. It was the time period when they were making movies. They actually cast actors for the caliber of their ability to act. Not saying that most people aren't wooden in those films. I mean, there's a few like wooden actors in the original trilogy. But in all honesty, when you went to go for a role, you auditioned. It wasn't like, oh wow, this is
Yeah.
Travis. He's in
And
multi-million-dollar movies. He's a
thankfully,
draw.
thankfully, I think we're getting back to that slowly, more and more each year, and not in Hollywood in general, but more in like the films we like, where it's more based on the talent as opposed to a pretty face or some shit. You know what I mean? You could say that about Natalie Portman, her presence in the Star Wars universe. What was your take on how Natalie Portman did? I mean, could you say that she was cast strictly on her talent, or she was a pretty face and popular at the time?
I don't know
No,
if she was popular per se. I mean, the most I remembered her from was a professional, but I'm a film nut, so.
Right. Yeah, and she was
she's
way
been in
younger.
a few other movies though, and I thought she was a decent choice. Um, honestly, like as far as she went, like I think they did a good pick on her. Seeing as her, well, Ewan McGregor was a great Obi-Wan. I you can't deny that.
And we're back to the prequels, and it's my fault. I didn't mean to
Well,
do
did
that.
you know Ewan McGregor is actually related to the guy who played Wedge?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And even in an interview, he said he was like, "That's why it's so close to my heart." Like my uncle was fucking Wedge Antilles for fuck's sake, really.
I mean, he
Who
definitely
we
had
won't
his
be-
foot in the door with that to get cast in a Star Wars role.
Yeah. By the way, sorry if my dog is kind of interjecting. There's a there's a wrestling match going on here.
Well, let's get right.
Actually, guys,
I was
hate
gonna
to
say
say,
before we run out of time, if you want to get into the meat of your Shadows of the Empire debate, you guys can have at it. If you want to get that in.
I was gonna say I'm done. Actually,
Oh.
I was gonna cop out.
It's fine. All right, man. It's
Sorry.
been real.
Why, like, Sasha, do you not like Shadows of the Empire?
No, it's not so much that. It was interesting because you got to figure that was a very interesting time to be a Star Wars fan. Because prior to that, we had the Timothy Zahn novels. For a long time after '86, after we got done with the Star Wars like cartoons that were like droids and Ewoks, which is weird to think the guy from the Police did the theme from droids. But anyways, for that long period of time, I want to say it was from '86 to like 1990 or so, we had nothing. It was like 4-5 years of no Star Wars, no nothing new. We pretty much thought it was over and done with, stick a fork in it. Then Zahn had released the novels, and it kind of started, a rumbling, because here was a geek novel that was hitting basically like the New York Times bestseller list. And I guess somebody at Lucasfilm in 20th Century, Fox was like, whoa, we really hit the button on this. What's going on? And that's what I thought was so cool about Shadows of the Empire, because we were all clamoring for movies. We were all